You're listening to Nanay by Motsi Dapol. Remind me to tell you later. Batibat. Nanay and I didn't stay long after the meal. She didn't show it, but I knew she was exhausted. An afternoon full of rituals was definitely starting to catch up with her, and I didn't want to be left alone and awkward at the table. We excused ourselves, and Joshua took the opportunity to leave as well. I understood. I was the same way when Tatay died. With Joshua leaving, Mrs. Castillo decided it was time to usher the two other kids to bedtime as well. Inigo kissed his mom goodnight and left quietly. Sophie made to leave us as well, but not before calling out,
Yaya Lani, can you come help me sleep?
One of the maids stepped out of the kitchen. She was the same one who welcomed us when we arrived. She walked over and smilingly took Sophie's hand in hers and jokingly chided that she was too big to be tucked into bed. I bade Mrs. Castillo good night, and she amicably did the same. But as I stepped into the hallway out of the dining area, I heard a short, weary sigh behind me. We were alone when we sat down for breakfast the next morning. Joshua and Inigo were nowhere to be seen, and Mrs. Castillo preferred to take her morning coffee and cigarette by the veranda. It was Sophie who ended up joining us as we were about halfway through our meal. She looked so tired. More tired than an 8-year-old should ever have to be. Lani came to her with a ready dish of rice, scrambled egg, and tender juicy hot dogs, a different fare from the toast and marmalade and chicken sausages prepared for us and the rest of the family. Ita panga, I made your favorite, Lani said before moving back to the kitchen. It was just as well that Sophie was the one eating with us, since she was the one who Nanay wanted to check on anyway. She asked if she had any nightmares last night. Sophie quietly shook her head, but Nanay didn't buy it. She asked again, and this time, Sophie replied that she was not allowed to talk about it. Nanay gently explained that Mrs. Castillo had told us about her problem and that we were here to help. She just needed to know if our help had worked. Sophie quietly looked at her plate before finally giving a small nod. She had another nightmare yesterday, and it was worse than before. Nanay was quiet. I didn't understand. The spell should have worked to trap whatever Batibat haunted this house. Sophie should have had the best sleep she's had in days. I knew for a fact Nanay could not have messed up that spell, so something outside of her control must have happened. Nanay didn't say anything, except to ask Sophie to describe her dream. She was quiet and picked at her food with her spoon. I was about to say something encouraging when she finally started to speak. It began with a small shadow in the corner of her room. She had woken, rather, dreamt that she had woken at one point in the night, and knew immediately that she was not alone. The shadow did not move. It did not speak. It didn't so much as twitch. She wanted to scream for help, but she couldn't even open her mouth. Maybe she could run, but she couldn't get herself to sit up or move her legs. Hide under the blanket then. But not even that was possible. Her entire body was paralyzed. The only movement allowed her was the movement of her eyes. They darted back and forth between the shadow on her right and window to her left, where she could see the leaves of the trees swaying softly in the wind. The shadow didn't move, but she knew it was coming for her. On the second night, the shadow was no longer a shadow. It was a form, indiscernible, but more solid than before. And it was bigger. And it had moved. It was closer to her bed than the night before. Sophie wanted to cry, but her eyes stayed dry. The only things that could move, apart from her heart because it was beating so loudly she could hear it beating out of her ears. There was wind again, gently shaking the trees outside her window, and she focused on the sound it made, like the hushed song in the breeze. Like a hushed song in the breeze. On the third night, the thing had come closer, and it had a shape. A man, maybe. Or a woman. A child? Sitting or crouching on the ground. It was shrouded in shadow, but she knew it had a face, and that it was watching her. She stared at the ceiling, where the whorls of wood seemed to form a smiling face at her. Again, she could not move. The song in the wind grew louder.
You're listening to Nanay by Motsi Dapul.
Hi everyone, this is Motsi. Thanks so much for listening to our 5-ish minute preview of the Patreon exclusive Remind Me to Tell You Later episode, Batibat. The full episode will shortly be posted to our patrons, and if you're interested in listening, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive episodes, as well as other special content. In relation to this, however, we do have a special announcement. As you all know, we're running our April subathon, hoping to hit 500 YouTube subscribers by April 29, in time for our special birthday livestream. We outlined the rewards for hitting our goal in a previous announcement, including a couple of new shirt designs and a winner who gets to take home a free item from our Redbubble store, chosen from our YouTube subscribers. However, we recently decided to sweeten the pot by adding a bonus prize. If we hit 500 subs by April 29, we'll release Remind Me to Tell You Later, Madre, a previous Patreon exclusive episode of Nanay, for free on YouTube and Podbean. So help us hit 500 subs so you can listen to a whole bonus episode of Nanay, in which Mary relates the story of how she and ex-girlfriend Ira ran into a horrifying ghost nun in their elementary school bathroom. Another announcement we'd like to make is not quite related to, but still relevant to, our podcast. It's election time in the Philippines, and if you haven't voted already, we encourage you to vote for Leni Robredo, our candidate of choice. We believe she is the best possible future leader of the country, and the best chance we have of preventing the son of a dictator, Marcos, who is not only benefiting from decades of stolen wealth from the country, but also just super incompetent and never attends debates and lies frequently, from taking power. He has a really good shot, and we are all very terrified. He's a terrible leader, and we need to stop him. And the best way to stop him is to vote for Leni, or, in the very least, make sure that everybody knows that he is the worst possible choice. Vote for Leni. You can find multiple sources online of why she is actually an amazing leader, all the way back to when she was still not even vice president, all the way back 2014, 2013. It's very well documented how much good she's done. So, yeah, we've not been quiet about our support of her on our socials, and we care about the Philippines more than we can express, and we really want a bright future for everybody. Anyway, in summary, help us get 500 subs for a bonus episode, but also please, please vote for Leni. Thank you, we love you, and hanggang sa muli.